Sports. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Dan. I don't know what my wingspan is, but it's probably not very good.
What is the importance of wingspan now?
I don't think it's all that important. It's in the month of May. It's a huge talking point because there's not a lot going on in that month, draft related, and the combine comes up. And if you have a guy over 6'10" who has a wingspan shorter than his height, it's all he's asked about. I remember a couple of years back. I mean, the biggest knock on Cody Zeller coming out of Indiana was that he might have had a shorter wingspan than people expected, and people were losing their minds about it. But ultimately, when you get to draft night, I mean, that's way down on the list of things people care about.
As far as the draft itself, it feels like it's all going to fall into place. You might have something with Tatum, Fox, or Josh Jackson, but is there a deal or deals that you think will impact tonight's draft?
Well, there's a couple of things that I'm keeping my eye on. Number one is what happens with Paul George. I think there's a very good chance that something happens significant with George, either to the Lakers or somebody else prior to the start of the draft. I mean, the Pacers want to be in this draft, and if they're going to deal Paul George, they want to get guys that that they can draft now and start the rebuilding process moving forward. Now, they're not going to get number 2 from the Lakers, but they might get a couple of picks, and there could be another team to swoop in the 11th hour and make that deal. And the other team I'm looking at least from what I hear, is Boston. And I think there's still a possibility Boston could trade down here. I think they like Jason Tatum a lot at number 3. And if they stay there, I think that's going to be the guy. But there's a lot of teams, inquiring to Boston right now, both with some offers for veteran players and draft picks to move back down the draft. So I don't know that Boston's done dealing quite yet.
The Knicks situation with Porzingis, is somebody willing to pony up enough for them to move him?
I mean, that interview that Phil Jackson did, I mean, a in-house interview, I've given up really understanding what goes through Phil Jackson's head. I really do. I don't know why he would just be so emotional about an exit interview. But people looked up later, other players have done it to him before. Shaq did it to him back in 2003. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I don't think a deal gets done for Porzingis because there are a lot of people in the organization that, unless it's a Godfather deal, they will stand up and tell Phil, absolutely not, you cannot do this. This guy is too good and too young. But, as you could tell from last night and what I've been hearing for all week, Phil is very serious about this. I mean, if there's an offer that makes sense, he'll make a deal. Now, Woj reported last night and into this morning that Phoenix was a team that the Knicks were looking at, but the Knicks aren't going to get Devin Booker out of Phoenix, and if they can't, there's no trade there to be had. So I think Porzingis stays, but you have to wonder at this point, Dan, have they done irreparable damage to this relationship? 2 years in, and they've really alienated this kid, and I wonder just how and what they're going to do to fix it.
Jimmy Butler's situation is what?
He could move. Chicago is less likely, I think, than Indiana to make a move with Butler on draft day. I think the Bulls, they feel like they could go into the offseason, see kind of where the dominoes fall, how the dust settles with teams like Boston and others when it comes to free agency. Boston wants Gordon Hayward. I mean, they're not going to make a deal, I don't think, that gobbles into their cap space because they want to make a run at Hayward. They think they can get him. Boston would make a Butler type of deal before they can go out and make their pitch to Hayward. But if they don't get him, I think it's possible down the line into July that they explore a deal with the Bulls. So they're talking about Jimmy Butler to teams, but I don't know that it necessarily happens on draft day.
Chris Mannix, Yahoo Sports The Vertical. They have their special tonight starting at 6:30 Eastern, NBA Draft Live coverage. The Lakers' game plan now is what?
Well, it's clear cap space, and that you saw with the deal that moved Russell and Mozgov off the books. I mean, Brook Lopez is not in their long-term plans. They want the cap space that Lopez creates. I mean, the biggest question they face now is, do they go into their assets and deal for Paul George now, or do they roll the dice and hope that George doesn't get traded to a Boston or a Portland or a team that he might like to play for and decide that he wants to stay? But their entire strategy, Dan, seems to be based on the summer of 2018, when there could be some massive free agents that are out there, free agents with ties to the Los Angeles area, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and absolutely LeBron James. I mean, they're going to be first in line to make their pitch to LeBron in 2018. And if they can get a commitment from Paul George before then, if Lonzo Ball this season looks like a franchise point guard, there's some optimism in L.A. that they can make something work.
But could you see a scenario where Chris Paul stays with the Clippers, where Melo ends up with the Clippers, and LeBron ends up with the Clippers?
Possibly. LeBron is going to look at situations that he thinks he can win in. I mean, that's going to be, it's got to be his top priority. And I wonder if LeBron's looking at his career, he's not looking at it as a one-off. He's not going to go to the Clippers for 1 year and then explore, the Lakers the next. I wonder if he looks at the Clippers a year from now, with Carmelo a year older, with Chris Paul at 33, himself would be 30, almost 34. Does he think that team in one season can challenge Golden State in the Western Conference? I don't really see it. The Lakers, at least, if you've got Paul George and you've got Chris Paul there, or you got Lonzo Ball there, you could have something for a 3-year type of run. And maybe you could cobble together some pieces around them that could put you in a title position. Plus, I really think, Dan, you have to wonder about Chris Paul and if he's going to be there. Because San Antonio, what they did with that Pau Gasol deal, I mean, it's vintage Spurs. It's like the 9th most popular deal, getting Pau Gasol to opt out of his contract, but it might be the most important. If they can move one more piece, and maybe it's Danny Green, maybe it's Tony Parker, though I have a hard time seeing them cut ties with Parker at this point. If they can move one more piece, they can have that max level money, and I think they'll make a run at Chris Paul or Kyle Lowry this summer.
The least risky pick tonight is who?
I've been a long believer in Fultz, but if you want to go a little bit down, I think Tatum is the least risky pick because I think he's going to be an NBA scorer, and I think he's going to be able to score at two positions. He's going to come in as a three-man, but as his body fills out a little bit, I think he's going to make a really good, 2017 version NBA four guy. That's why I think Boston likes him, because I think you can play Tatum and Jaylen Brown together. It's not one or the other, which it might be with Josh Jackson. But I think that Tatum is going to be able to come in and play right away. The
riskiest pick is who?
See, my issue is you're recording all of this.
Yes, I am,
and I'm gonna eat this. I think De'Aaron Fox, at least in that top 5, 6, 7 range, is risky. I look at him, and I've heard two things in terms of the red flag department. Number one, he's a real skinny kid. Like his body is not. Playing the point guard in the NBA, it's grueling, and people have looked at him and said, I don't know how big he gets, how much he fills out. And more importantly, the shot's not there. He shot 25% from three during college. Can he get good enough to make 35, 36% as a pro? You just don't survive. I mean, they're few and far between the guys that survive that position who can't shoot. Rondo was one of them. You're seeing Elfrid Payton in Orlando, who is really struggling, and not his other talents aren't being showcased because he can't shoot the basketball. I think Fox is a big risk to me because of those two factors.
Seton, were we recording that?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, we got that, Mannix. All right. Have fun tonight.
I'm gonna eat these probably 6 months from now. I'm gonna be eating these.
We'd have it no other way. We never bring back anything that you said that was right. Yeah, Seton.
Why wait 6 months?
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be.
Yeah, we might do it tomorrow.
Summer League.
Yeah.
Summer League.
Yes. Thank you, Chris.
All right, Dan.
That's Chris Mannix.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.